Today's video is sponsored by myself and my webshop tsmc.shop. Please go check it out. The new website is now live and we're constantly adding new products to get you a better shopping experience and the best possible tools and materials for your hobby needs. After painting most of the parts on the body in the first episode, there were still a couple of small bits in the hood that needed to be taken care of as well. Now I didn't want to do these straight away as the inside of that sort of hood vent also needed to be painted, so rather than just gluing them in and painting on top of them, I figured let's just paint the entire body first, then glue them in, then put all the vents on top, and then paint those vents again in the black that it needs to be, or the gunmetal, and then just move on to all of the decals. While I let the decals soak in some water so they can remove themselves from the backing paper, I prepare the area by cleaning it first with a anti-static brush, then applying some Decal Magic decal setting solution on the area that the decal needs to be. This helps the decal slide in place easier and also just makes it a tiny bit softer, adds a bit of adhesion, and just gently helps it conform to shape a lot better. Once I'm happy with the way that the decal is positioned, I can gently start removing all of the moisture from underneath. I'm doing this with a cotton swab. You can also do this with a makeup sponge or any other preferred method you like. Now I'm just going to show this in real time for a couple of the bigger decals and then just skim over some of the other decals a little bit faster further on in the video. Most of this video will be done on specifically the decals, and at the end I will also be doing the clear coat. Now if you can't bear to watch me remove all of the moisture from underneath the decal, then skip to 4 minutes 45 and I will move on to some more decals. After applying the final section of the pink on this rear fender, I did notice that I made quite a small, not insignificant mistake, and for some reason this decal needs to be placed first, and then you need to place the door, because the door decal needs to go on top of this pink decal for the rear fender. Now, as you can see, there is a finger missing on that rear fender, and that's because it's underneath the pink. Now, no worries, I will just finish applying this decal, shaping it, and removing all of the moisture, but don't let it dry completely. While it is still wet, I use a brand new super sharp blade, carefully cut away what I don't need, and then take that off with a tweezer. Now, when you're doing this, it is very important that the decal underneath is completely dry and in place and cannot be moved ever again. If the decal underneath is still wet and can be moved, then of course while cutting it will be shifting and also will be removed when you remove that top layer. Now I'm gently cutting away, not putting pretty much any pressure on it whatsoever, trying not to make the cut as deep, and then once the cut is complete I can remove that pink section and move on to finishing the decal off. Now don't worry, I've made this exact same mistake on the other side, but I won't bother you with that too much, so I'm just going to skip to the next decal and pretend this never happened. So for some strange reason, this decal also needs to be placed before the door decal itself, and again it is covering some of the numbers, lettering, and other stuff underneath it, so I needed to do the same surgery. And also, again, don't worry, this was also done on the other side, just like I did with the finger. Both sides were completed first, and then I figured out this needed to be done. The procedure is exactly the same. With the final decal now in place, I let the body sit and cure for a couple of days so all the moisture that was still remaining underneath the decals could carefully dry out and not be rushed or closed in with a 2K clear coat. The 2K that I will be using is from number 5, and this is the one that I pretty much like most out of all the clear coats that I've tested so far. It applies really nice and smooth and maintains a super smooth, clear, glossy finish in the end, and doesn't really wrinkle up or shrink down as much as I've seen with some other clear coats. Now the first coat is applied really lightly just to get all of the decals acclimated to the clear coat. I let that sit for about 10 minutes before moving on to the second coat. Now since it is pretty cold at the moment where I live, I did need to add a bit of thinners to this mixture, otherwise it would just stay too thick and don't get a really nice finish. So just a super small amount of thinners from number 5 was more than enough for the second coat to flow out nice and smoothly. With the first coat now applied and far from nice and smooth, I let it sit for about 5 to 10 minutes to just gas out a little bit and prepare itself for the second coat. This one, like I said, was thinned down a super small amount just to get it flowing through the airbrush a lot nicer due to the lower temperatures that I'm living in right now, and then just applying it a bit thicker. After this coat was applied, I was almost satisfied, so I did go over it again with a third thin final coat, but nothing that looked any different than this one here. It was just applied a little bit thinner just to get it as smooth as possible. Once that was done, I set it aside to cure, and in the meantime could move on to the interior. If you're still watching at this point, I do want to take a quick second out to thank all of the video sponsors this week from Patreon and the YouTube channel memberships. If you are interested in supporting the channel and helping me out in these rougher times for the channel, please do consider joining the Patreon or becoming a channel member. This helps out a ton and keeps the channel alive. Links will be in the description down below. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you guys next time.